Thank you for gathering today. It is my honor to welcome you to the community celebration for the dedication of the grantee Venerable House. It was almost a year ago today that we announced that this undergraduate residence would be named in honor of grantee Venerable, the first Black student to graduate from Caltech. And it's such an incredible honor and joy to be here with all of you to celebrate this renaming and to mark this occasion for our community. As many of you know, the undergraduate residential community is at the heart of Caltech's undergraduate experience. Now, we all know that Caltech, with its incredible science, the impact we make, the scientists that we grow, and they go all over the world to make impact. All of this impact, though, similar to any amazing architecture, will crumble without a foundation that's solid. And that foundation is our community. And that community, for an undergraduate, the critical component is the student house. And this is a reunion weekend, and I'm sure all of us, when we meet our fellow alums, not only are we asking which year did you graduate, which degree did you get, but also which house. And that may resonate even more so in terms of your persona, the way you start to interact. And what's amazing is that over the years, the personality of the houses, though they may have modified a little bit, it's still there. And you can see that. And I understand that some of the members of the Venerable House were able to join dinner yesterday at the Venerable House to meet the students. I hope you were able to get some of the experience of what the house experience is like for our undergraduate. And one of the key things, I was honored to be part of the co-chair of the renaming committee last year. And when we gathered with our fellow alums and current students and thinking about what are the elements or what are the key criteria that we would be looking at when we select the new name for the house. And it was a passionate pursuit of all things in life. Now, Mr. Venerable seemed to embody in so many different ways what it means to be part of a community. He served as the president of the Caltech Cosmopolitan Club. This is an organization that was formed to promote fellowship among diverse nationalities. He contributed to the student newspaper, participated in athletics. He truly embraced the richness of Caltech experience in terms of its academic, research, co-curricular experience, and exemplified the sort of engagement with the institution, his fellow peers, that any fellow alum of Caltech would appreciate, and we would hope all future students would also achieve. As today's MC for the program, I have the privilege of introducing our speakers. But before I do that, I do want to take a minute to acknowledge all of you and thank many of us who joined here for this commemorative occasion. And I would also like to acknowledge attendance of the Venerable family, the leaders from the local chapters, some of the Black Greek letter organizations, community and organization leaders, leaders from the NAACP, Pasadena Historic Museum, and academic colleagues, such as San Francisco State University Provost Amy Sueyoshi. We are deeply honored to also have with us many members of the extended Venerable family, from his sons and daughter, who we will hear from later in the program, to his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, cousins, as well as lifelong friends. Venerable family, can you please stand and be recognized? It's an honor to have you all here today. And now, please join me in welcoming Caltech's president and Sonia and William Davidow Presidential Chair and Professor of Physics, Dr. Thomas F. Rosenbaum, to the stage.
Thank you, Satoshi. Today's just a glorious day, and we are so happy that you are here today to be able to celebrate with us. We, of course, will spend the next hour dedicating and naming grantee Venerable House. In the Man Booker Prize-winning novel, Life of Pi, the author Jan Martel writes, "It is true that those we meet can change us, sometimes so profoundly that we are not the same afterwards, even unto our names." And in that way, today is as much about change as it is about names. Today is as much about community as it is about names. Today is as much about the aspirations of what we and Caltech can be as it is about names. Grantee Venerable began his Caltech career in 1929 and would go on, as you know, to become the Institute's first Black graduate with a degree in civil engineering. Having completed courses at UCLA, which was then known as the University of California Southern Branch, he earned superior scores on the mathematics portion of Caltech's entrance exam and was admitted as a sophomore in good standing. Venerable was a writer for the California Tech newspaper and a member of the YMCA, now the Caltech Y. As Satoshi mentioned, the American Society of Civil Engineers and the Exhibit Day Committee. He served as president of the Cosmopolitan Club, which aimed to, quote, encourage adequate understanding of the customs and habits of different peoples of the world. A consummate scholar-athlete, Venerable was a member of both the football team and the track team, specializing in the 220 and 440-yard dashes. This brief sketch captures a career of accomplishment and leadership at Caltech, a life where many of Grantee Venerable's classmates stood to be changed by meeting him. We too, looking back now, today, stand to be changed by the example of a man who overcame financial hardship and racial prejudice, who produced a remarkable family, many of whom are here today, and whose example makes a powerful statement about Caltech's future. Let us celebrate Grantee Venerable, the man, the house, and the transformation that today represents. Thank you.
Thank you, President Rosenbaum. We now have the opportunity to hear from Mr. Venerable's three children, Grant Jr., Linda Venerable Ellington, and Lloyd Venerable. We'll first hear from Lloyd, followed by Grant, and then Linda. Lloyd.
Well, this is a very wonderful moment. This is an amazing, glorious moment. I'm looking at a lot of people out here, a lot of humanity, and I'm feeling it right here in my soul very deeply, and I appreciate your being here today, caring and supporting this event. I'm thanking Dr. Rosenbaum for creating this. His energy, his insight, and his vision, which have created this, which has been a deep process for some years, apparently. And I must say that it's on me. And so this spirit that I'm feeling, and I'm feeling it going out, not just here from the campus, but all over the planet, helping this planet become a more humane place to live. So I thank you. I also want to thank Shana Chadner, because without her and her crew, this wouldn't happen. She set all this up. So I'd like to, again, thank you, thank Caltech, and wish you all health and practice peace. Thank you.
Oh, Linda's last? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Grant, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm Grant D. Venerable II. I wish to relate to you that chaos ruled the world in the 1920s, and my father's admission to Caltech in 1929 was beyond the expected and without precedent. The chaotic state of knowledge facing serious students of science of that day was often baffling and without precedent. Key building blocks of chemical matter had yet to be discovered, and the theory of atomic and molecular structure had yet to reveal itself. In J.J. Thomson's British World of 1897, the electron revealed itself. In 1909, at the University of Chicago, future Caltech President Robert Millikan and co-worker Harvey Fletcher made the unprecedented measurement of the electrical charge of the electron. Along came Ernest Rutherford in 1911, offering an atom most British with a nucleus at its center. And in 1913, Denmark, Niels Bohr, pre-quantum model of the hydrogen atom, emerged with an electron revolving around a positively charged proton nucleus. But 1932 was a banner year for physical science as young Grant Venerable graduated from Caltech with the BS degree in engineering, while the UK's James Chadwick discovered the neutron, and Caltech physicist Carl Anderson discovered the positively charged positron, the mirror image of the negatively charged electron. Indeed, the basic atomic structure of electrons, protons, and neutrons in the atom was still foreign to most science classrooms until the 1940s to 1950s, in time for me to take chemistry at Manual Arts High School in 1958, Los Angeles, which was the same year that my father brought my sister Linda, brother Lloyd, and me to this campus to join alumni and faculty for an unprecedented moment with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King in the Athenaeum right there. At the age of 15 and 1/2, my adolescent perception of the human potential changed me in an instant, in the twinkling of an eye. In recent years, Caltech has ushered in a growing vision of itself as a global change agent, far surpassing its already long-established Nobel Prize caliber outcomes. The next American Revolution, bringing unprecedented discoveries in molecular biology, gravitation, and quantum entanglement, accompanied Caltech's own repudiation of pseudoscientific doctrines that infected much of higher education in the 1920s. But it also began in 1929 when a young man, emboldened by a vision of his own potential, applied for and gained admission to this great engine of science and engineering. Up to that time, no individual of his cultural background had graduated from Tech, but young Grant did in 1932. Because for everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born, a time to heal, a time to seek. And in this young man's seeking, some thought him misguided, daring to think that he, a descendant of people subjected to legalized bondage, would not be subjected to keenest scrutiny for the slightest misstep. But faith in the fullness of time brings the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Such a time came on the watch of Thomas F. Rosenbaum, the Institute's visionary ninth president, when the Board of Trustees recognized the needful timeliness for freedom, peace, and healing in respect to Caltech and our nation's difficult past. They arrived quietly, this freedom, peace, and healing, in a far-reaching decision to honor the academic and lifetime achievements of Caltech's first graduate of African heritage. The trustee board voted a year ago to rename one of the undergraduate houses after an applied mathematician, the son of a bygone era, 117 years prior to his vote. When a 60-year-old residence hall was renamed Grant D. Venerable House, faith came full circle. What had been a concerning past morphed into a new era, resplendent in bright horizons of possibility and opportunity, not just for a great university, but for the citizenry of an entire planet. Grant Venerable's generous character, creative genius, strong determination, and gentle being are consecrated in this celebration of renewal of an historic house and the kindred spirits who dwell therein. Now I'm honored to introduce my dynamic kindred spirit, Sister Linda Venerable Ellington, to give remarks.
Wow. Wow. I'm the cleanup crew. I love baseball. I love the Dodgers. And Mookie Betts is my guy. He's the cleanup guy. So that's what I'm going to do today, and tell you a little bit about the man that my father was. First of all, thank you, Dr. Rosenbaum, for this fabulous honor. When my older brother called me a number of months ago and told me that this was going to take place, I think I spent the next few days in joyous tears, truly. My children were asking me every day, what's wrong, what's wrong? I said, it's right, it's right. And let's go back a little bit to 1904. That's when my father was born. I'm going to throw out probably some numbers and maybe some jargon and some nuances from the 1920s and 30s. Just understand, that was another era. This is now. We're going into something brand new and so very right for everybody. And I speak to the young people who are attending this awesome institution, that you are the ones that are going to have to carry this ball. My father grew up in a segregated city in Missouri. And in order for him to get a better education, his parents decided to send him to California. I know a little bit about California, having been born here, traveled here, but I've also been in every state in the Union, either driving in or flying in. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't get any better than the state of California. I know your prices are high. I know your gas is high. But it doesn't get any better than this. And that really came from a father who was interested in getting us out in the world. But that's a little bit later, I'll tell you that. So he came to California, graduated from San Bernardino High School, right down the way, right down the road. And then, ready to go to college, his mother, Louise Venerable, sat down with him. She was only about yay tall. She was a little lady, but powerful. Mother Venerable. Son, I want you to be a doctor. And his mind just kind of went, but, no, but, doctor it is. So he attended Santa Ana Junior College. He went to USC, where they had this thing about the eugenics, but he was doing okay. He was doing well. But then he had a laboratory class in biology, which was required. And this particular class, they were doing some kind of experiment. And all of a sudden, there was this seismic movement in the room. And they said, what happened? What happened? And they looked around. Where's Grant Venerable? He was on the floor, passed out cold. Well, they ran to his rescue. They brought him to. So what's wrong? What's wrong? He said, blood. There's blood. I can't do this. Let me talk to my mother. Mother. We were very formal back in those. Mother. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a mathematician. Do you know that they deal with blood? Doctors deal with blood? And she was like, yes, son. I need to do my thing. Okay. So he went to UC Berkeley. UC Berkeley, Cal Berkeley, great school. I know it well. Matter of fact, there was something about Berkeley. How would you put it? They like to study, but they like to have a good time. My father's best friend was a chief of police. Now, he was a good guy. He was kind of his guardian angel. And he kept him out of trouble. Walt Gordon, was that his name? Yeah. Walt Gordon. Yeah, he was appointed by Dwight Eisenhower to be a governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands. So you'll come to know that the people that my father knew were outstanding people. But it wasn't just the big guys, it was the little guys too. So he left Berkeley after a year. Now, I kind of understand that. I got that Berkeley gene. And I went to Berkeley. And that's where I met my dear friend Angela. She's right there. That's almost 60 years ago. But, you know, I'm really trying to kind of make a point about friendships. It can be done. But I came back, I got into Cal State LA, and I kept on going, but my father came back from Berkeley, and he attended UCLA. And he did very well until he was at the end and he had decided that there was one class that he wouldn't take. He didn't need it, you know, he was young, he was arrogant, you know, in some ways. But the dean of school says, well, you got to take this. So instead of allowing him to take the class, he said, bye-bye. While he was there, though, he was a joiner. He always joined. You heard the list of activities he was involved in. He was a runner. You know who his friend was? Jesse Owens. Also, Ralph Johnson Bunch. They were in an Alpha Phi Alpha line together. This became almost 100 years of friendship because I am an Alpha daughter, I was an Alpha wife, and I am an Alpha mother. So as he left UCLA, this was the goal, Caltech. He had a plan of action. I'm going over there. I'm getting into Caltech. I don't care what they say, what they think. I'm getting in. And he came here and he knocked on the door. And they said, who is the Negro at the door? Don't know what he wants. Well, maybe we should find out. He wants to apply to Caltech. Really? Yes. Well, he took that battery of tests and he just knocked it out of the ballpark. But there was one test he didn't do so well in, and that was that chemistry test. So whatever he knew about chemistry, he passed along to my big brother because he's got a PhD in inorganic chemistry from the University of Chicago, Argonne National Laboratories. That's my big brother. So they kind of told him in so many words, you know, okay, yeah, you pass these things, but we kind of don't want you here. You know, we really don't need you to be here, you know, because our thought process is not real positive about these things. But they let him in anyway. Where's he going to stay? He can't stay on the campus with these people, with these nice young students. And they argued back and forth, but it's the rules. He has to stay on campus. And they said, but we don't want him there. But you got to have him there. So they put him on campus. And so it began. It began as he took course after course. And people's eyes, students' eyes, the administration, the professors were saying, Gad, this is a brilliant young man. And as he joined the different groups, you know, he was a Christian in every sense of the word. He didn't go around saying, No, he was very quiet. He was very humble. You know, he'd get up every morning. Those mountains right there, those are my mountains. I lift up mine eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. And he got a lot of help. And so day after day, week after week, month after month, as students were drawn to him, and they gained that, they gave him that respect. He was tutoring, he was mentoring, he was even teaching some things. Professors used to ask him, Grant, will you please come and sit with me and let's talk about this math problem, or this problem, or that. I mean, they had a growing appreciation and respect, so that by the time he graduated, 90 years, 4 months, and 11 days ago, That's from a mathematician's daughter. He was there. He was there. But he graduated at a time when there were no jobs. This was the Depression. So he spent 2 years in Montana, came home, and he started into his life. He still had a plan for what he wanted to do. He joined the Golden State Life Insurance Company. It's where he met my mother, his future bride. But he took with him friendships of classmates and professors and administrators, and they knew they could always call on him for whatever it was that was on their mind. And I tell you something about friendships, because they don't come from looking at this. You understand? Young folks. No, you gotta look up. You gotta look at people. You have to look in their eyes. You have to see them for who they are and understand, wow, is that you? Yes. My father made friends easily. He was a humble man. And so it was very easy to do this. And when I look at many of the friendships that we have, they're actually multi-generational. I mean, it goes back to parents, it goes back to grandparents. And it extends to our children and even grandchildren. I see my friend Beth over there. We knew her parents and the grandparents. And Georgette Smith knew her parents too. And then it's like in the Girl Scouts, we sing that song, Make New Friends, Keep the Old, Some are Silver, Some are Gold. I have my new friends sitting right here. Actually, I've known one for over 40 years, but she introduced me to my newer friends. We're right down here. And I'll tell you something else about friendship, because you don't hear about this too often. My mother was raised in East LA, and it was a polyglot of people. She had 6 siblings. There was just everybody over there. Everybody knew Papa Scott. That's what they called him, my grandpa. And everybody was welcome in his home. As long as you were classified as a human being, you were welcome in his home. So my mother had a boyfriend at the tender age of 16, and she was dating an Army guy in 1932. Now, this was well before my father came along at Golden State, and kind of knocked her off her feet, so woo. But this gentleman, they had broken up, and this gentleman became ill. Now, he was living in South LA, my mother was living in East LA, and my father was living in West LA, and she asked him to go visit her friend because he was ill. I don't know how many of you young people do that. This is her former boyfriend. But my father picked her up in East LA and took her to South LA and met a gentleman whose name was Warner Starks. And this was several visits that they had until he was well. And I tell you, what came from that was a long time friendship. It was a forever friendship. And when my parents married, Warner was there. When he married, my father was there. And one day, Warner Starks came by our house, and he had a basket. And, what's in the basket? He brings the basket, puts it on our little coffee table, and says, "There she is." And I'm looking. Well, my God, it was a baby. Those bonnets we used to wear when we were babies? Biggest daggone bonnet I'd ever seen. But you know what? That was my little sis, Colonel Teresa Starks, retired United States Air Force. Thank you, Teresa, for your service to to our country. She's right here, my little sis. So friendships are special. They are so special. And that's one thing that my father truly gave me, was the ability to see the good in people. And as we went through this life, and he was coming to Caltech on alumni days, which, by the way, he didn't miss until he passed away. And that was almost 50 years. My father had a truly two horrendous seismic events that took place in his life. His mother passed away, and you know, she had been sick for a bit. But then 2 months later, my mother passed away. That shook him to his core. He was lost. But he had made the promise to my mother to keep the children together and to raise them. And he started calling his friends. His friends called him and said, "What can we do to help you?" And little bit by little bit, he came out of that depression. And he started breathing again. It took a little bit because we weren't well either. That's a tremendous thing to go through. But Caltech came through. You see, we became Caltech children. We were here at Caltech for Alumni Day every single year. We went to Mount Palomar Observatory. I think I was only 4 years old. But I can't forget it. It was so outstanding. So it's what California gave to we three. You know, we gave back to our children, to our community. And this was because of a father who was so involved in everything that he did, but mostly the people. If you needed help, he was there. It didn't matter who you were. I mean, people would call and say, "I have a friend," or "I know somebody who needs some help." He said, "Have them call me. I'll take care of it." So to the many students who are here, offer up your soul, offer up your heart to people. It's amazing. And to those people who doubted him for wanting to come to Caltech, it was amazing what he did in his lifetime. So I say to Dr. Milliken, who was one of his big doubters, who, when my father passed away, the little newspaper article said, Dr. Milliken's protege, Grant Venerable, passes away. Dr. Milliken, wherever you are, he made it. He made it. You told him. You sat him down when he first came here. And he says, "You know, if you don't graduate from Caltech, everybody's going to know who you are because you were the one who failed. But if you graduate, no one's going to know your name. You just fade away." Dr. Milliken, you were wrong. You were wrong about that. Because I'm telling you, right now, Grant Delbert Venerable is on the wall of that residence. Everybody knows him now. We know him now. Thank you, Caltech. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to hear about and get to know your father more. Definitely puts a lot more story behind the reason, and it does justify, especially when we think about a Ruddick renaming committee, many of the reasons why we selected and go forward with Grantee Venerable. So thank you for the story. One other thing I should mention too, for those of you here for reunion weekend, to echo your point, Linda, it is an opportunity, old and new, to make those friendships that will be lifelong. So please do make those connections. Now, I would like to welcome to the stage Aditi, and Venerable House current president. So please, welcome to the stage.
Hello. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. It means so much to me and my entire house. I see you all over there. So when it came down to making a final decision about our house's name, Venerable was very much the obvious decision. He was a multi-talented, ambitious, kind, as we have heard, and passionate person, which is what we should all strive to be. And as a house, we wanted to take this opportunity to honor someone who really embodies these amazing qualities, and Grantee Venerable was absolutely the perfect fit. So yesterday, we were able to meet with members of his family and family friends, and it was such an incredible moment. It felt really like the work of the past year and a half was culminating in last night and today, and I couldn't be happier with how it's all gone, so thank you so much. And I'm proud that we've begun to foster a relationship with the Venerable family. This is something that I'm so proud we could say that as Venerable House, that we have a relationship with our house's family. I don't think any other house on this campus can say that. So we got to learn more about them last night, and I'm also happy to say that we were able to share some of our silly little traditions with them as well. And I look forward to continuing this relationship for the next several years. I'd also now like to thank several people who made this happen. So first, the renaming committee. Thank you all for being such an amazing group of people to work with. You know, if I had to sacrifice several afternoons of the summer after my sophomore year, I'm so glad it was with you. And of course, my friends and family who saw me through the entire process over the past year and a half, you've all been amazing. And everyone who made this event possible, as well as last night, Shayna and the rest of OSC, thank you so much. Karen for getting us the shirts that are all over the audience, amazing, thank you. Stephen for helping everything run so smoothly. And finally, I want to thank the Venerable family because with you, the house of people that I love now has a name that represents the welcoming, vibrant, and passionate community that I know that it is. And I hope that you feel like you are also part of this community now. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. We now will have the pleasure to hear from another representative of the student community, current grad student and former president of the Black Scientist and Engineer Caltech, also called BSEC, Daniel Mukasa. Daniel, along with his colleagues and peers in BSEC, helped to lead the charge that led the Institute to reconsider campus memorializations and honors in order to ensure that the people we celebrate in these spaces fully represent the values of our community. Daniel, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Mukasa. I am currently a rising fourth year in applied physics and material science here at Caltech, a PhD candidate in Wei Gao's medical engineering group, and the now former president of the Black Scientists and Engineers of Caltech, also known as BSEC. I had the distinct pleasure of being the president over the last 2 years now, and as such, I was one of the primary members that ended up drafting the petition that led to the renaming of multiple buildings on campus, including Caltech Hall and now Venerable House. Thank you. I really want to take this moment to recognize how important this event is and how important this renaming is. This really marks a new era for Caltech that I, in particular, am really looking forward to. It's an era in which students who come to Caltech can really feel like they're entering a community in which the Institute is dedicated to making an inclusive environment. There's a lot of challenges that come with coming to any top-tier institution and being any form of a minoritized student, including, of course, the imposter syndrome that one may feel and not being certain that they actually belong in this community. The doubts that may come from colleagues who feel as though they buy into these beliefs and maybe they were just let in for the color of their skin. And of course, the obvious pressures that come with feeling as though you need to prove all of these people wrong and that you need to be the outstanding individual that proves all of these stereotypes incorrect. in renaming these buildings, I hope that what we can do is move into an era in which these students no longer have to worry about these things, that they feel as though they could come to Caltech and completely be welcomed and thrive in their passion. Now, we're in an amazing community where we all at Caltech have the same passion for science, and it's a really beautiful thing when someone can come to an institute like this, thrive in that passion, and really see how they're able to grow. Now, being able to see how these students grow without these limitations and anxieties holding them back is going to make Caltech one of the most exciting environments to be a part of. I would really like to thank the entire Venerable family for taking part in this event with us and being able to celebrate this moment. This is going to be the start of a really new Caltech that I'm very excited to call myself a part of. And I'd like to, of course, thank everyone who helped put this event together and for us to be able to celebrate this day. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to the entire Venerable family again. I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you and hopefully being able to talk to you. So thank you.
Daniel, thank you for joining us today and representing the collective work and actions of you and your peers. As the final act in celebrating what this moment means for Caltech and for our community, we are going to unveil the new Venerable House sign that will be officially installed above the house entrance behind us next week. For this unveiling, I'd like to ask our speakers to join me on stage. We have Lloyd, Linda, and Grant, President Rosenbaum, Aditi, and Daniel.
Great. Are we all in position? So we'll make this formal. I think the Venerable family should have the honor of grabbing the drape, and we'll count together down to 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Great. We look forward to seeing that next week on our new residents. Now, thank you everybody for joining us. Hope you'll enjoy the refreshments along the Olive Walk and also the music by Caltech's own jazz quartet. Thank you.